Imagine you live in the year 24,000 BCE. You're the same recognizable you that you are today. The cognitive revolution happened about 50,000 years earlier, so your brain is as capable of problem solving and emotion as it is now. But you've grown up without any knowledge of science or organized religion. Based on your own lived experience with animals and humans and nature, would you believe in God? If you're anything like our prehistoric ancestors, you probably would have believed in God, and that God would most likely have been a woman. As we spoke about in an earlier video, some of the oldest works of art that our ancient human ancestors left behind are figures of women who look an awful lot like goddesses. Think about it. One of the most powerful, magical things an ancient human would ever see in their lives was the birth of a baby, and then the female body magically making food for that baby. The power to create and sustain new life must have seemed superhuman. It kind of still does. And that power was a distinctly feminine power. So it would make sense that humans would venerate the feminine as the creator and the giver of life. To be clear, this is just conjecture. No one really knows what our prehistoric ancestors thought or believed. But once humans started writing, then we have a much clearer picture of their worldview. And as we all know, for many thousands of years, people all over the world believed in religions that included gods and goddesses. But think about the world today. We're still very much into gods. What happened to the goddesses? Let's zoom in on a couple of moments from history to find out what happened. First, the Near East between about 2000 and 1000 BCE. Ancient Hebrew, Akkadian, and Hittite texts all mention the goddess Asherah, also known as Ishtar. Asherah was the mother goddess in these ancient Semitic religions, and many goddess figurines representing her have been unearthed all over the region. She was worshipped as the mother of heaven, the creatrix of the gods, and she was the wife of the Hebrew king of heaven who was called El and later Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible. There are many ancient records that describe Yahweh and his Asherah, and in the book of Kings we're told that a statue of Asherah was housed in the temple, and that female temple workers wove ritual textiles for her. One of Asherah's symbols was the tree, and in many ancient texts, including the Bible, you hear about Asherah poles and people who worshipped her in groves or forests. Some scholars even think that the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the creation story may be vestiges of Asherah. But if you've read the Bible, you might remember that Yahweh was described as a jealous God. Yahweh commanded the Jewish people to destroy the Asherah shrines. Remember when Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho, and then the Hebrews entered the land of Canaan and killed everyone and destroyed the Canaanites' idols. The Canaanites worshipped Asherah. So this is a story of a male father god commanding his people to destroy all evidence of a mother god, burning and cutting down the groves where she was worshipped. Once a male-female duo, Yahweh and his Asherah was systematically and deliberately changed into a sole, exclusively male deity. And biblical scholars agree that the editors of the Bible wiped out almost all mention of Asherah that had been there before. I wonder how it felt to be one of the women who had worshipped Asherah in the temple or who prayed to her in the forest, and then to see your own religious leaders destroying her statues and burning down her groves. To be taught when you were a little girl that there was a mother in heaven that you could pray to, but then to have to teach your daughters that there wasn't. Anyway, not every culture completely destroyed goddesses. Let's visit ancient Greece. In Greek mythology, the ancient Earth Mother was separated into multiple goddesses, none of whom had too much power on her own, and all of whom were subordinated to one supreme male deity, Zeus. Think about Hera, Aphrodite, Hestia. They all possessed qualities that patriarchal societies valued in women, like being faithful wives, being beautiful, and taking care of the home. You might think that Athena was an exception as the goddess of war, But she was actually not like the other girls. Her origin story was that she was born straight out of Zeus's head, so as not to be contaminated by being born from a woman, I guess. Athena describes herself being in every way aligned with her father Zeus, and with all men, not with anything feminine. And all of those Greek goddesses, as famous as they still are, aren't worshipped anymore. They didn't last in people's actual religious life past the 9th century, when Christianity had succeeded in taking over Europe. We have to admit that Christian colonization all but erased the goddesses over vast swaths of the earth. As you can imagine, a culture that asserts men's power over women in real life is not going to allow its people to pray to an all-powerful mother goddess. As Catholic theologian Mary Daly pointed out, when God is a man, then man is God. Of course, it's really important to point out that many people resisted the erasure of their goddesses. And there are religions that still worship their traditional female deities and tell creation stories that center, or at least include, a great mother. Hindus worldwide worship Sarasvati, Lakshmi, and Parvati. And Amaterasu is the sun goddess in the Shinto religion and is considered their most important deity. And even within Catholicism, some indigenous goddesses were melded with the Virgin Mary and continued their influence that way. And there are women pushing back within their male-centered religions. Jewish women have been wrestling with the patriarchal aspects of their faith for generations, in some cases reclaiming Asherah as the partner of Yahweh, or asserting the importance of Shekinah, the feminine aspect of God. There are lots of Latter-day Saint women who treasure their belief in a Heavenly Mother. Arguably, it's not super empowering for women to believe in a mother god if a group of 100% men can tell you that you can't know anything about her and that you're not allowed to pray to her. But the fact that so many LDS women cling to those little scraps demonstrates how human beings ache for a deity that looks like them. Nobody talks about this topic with more wisdom than Dr. Christena Cleveland, who wrote a book called God is a Black Woman. So let's wrap up this episode with some thoughts from Christena.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing that reflection, because I ache for a deity that can relate to my experience as a woman and as a Black person. And I fell in love with the Black Madonna when I first encountered her in 2016 in the wake of the Me Too movement, in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement. I was so heartbroken. I've been trying to hobble together the divine feminine amongst these scraps, but these scraps were through the lens of a really patriarchal religion, evangelical Christianity. My body needed to encounter a divine being who shows up in the world the way that I do. One of the things that I love so much about the divine feminine way is that it's all about me showing up and allowing my body to tell me what to think and feel theologically about this being. It's not some word handed down from on high, but it really takes seriously my own feminine wisdom. If I get to have a say in who God is and how God shows up, then what does that say about me? It says that I'm sacred too, that I'm part of divinity. One of the things that I love about the Black Madonna in particular is that when I first walked 400 miles across central France in search of these ancient Black Madonna images, and I encountered 18 on that first pilgrimage, I had fun naming each of them. Like, they have their official names, but then I sort of low-key named them on my own based on my experience with them. So Our Lady of the Sick was she who cherishes our hot mess, and Our Lady of the Fountain was she whose thick thighs save lives. And it wasn't until after my pilgrimage that I started doing research on the Black Madonna that I realized that for millennia, people have been doing the same thing. She says, hey, come and be in relationship with me. And how do you experience me? Because how you experiences me is my name. I have Black Madonna statues all over my house. I even have a little plastic one in my shower because I need to be reminded everywhere I turn that I'm sacred. Because once I walk outside my door, the world's going to tell me that as a woman, my voice doesn't matter. As a Black person, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, my life doesn't matter. When I'm in my actual home, I want to be reminded of the truth. Really, I think the invitation is for all of us to join the hunt and join the defining and become theologians and stop asking other people to tell us what to believe and what to think, and start searching for divine images that remind us of ourselves. And they don't have to be figural. I'm lucky I found Black Madonnas that some of them look like my mom, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a plant. It could be an animal. It could be a river. There's so many ways in which the divine feminine shows up that's calling us to find our sacredness and to find our home there. And so I could go on and on and on, but I'll leave people with that.
And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It takes courage to listen to a point of view that might be outside of your experience and your comfort zone. So tell me what you learned in the comments below. And then don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with friends.